ABC.
Well, Mongolia has amended its controversial foreign investment law in an effort to become more business-friendly. Private companies looking to invest in the resource-rich country will no longer have to seek government approval. At the same time, Mongolia is tightening restrictions on foreign state-owned companies. They need government approval before buying into any Mongolian company, regardless of how small the stake is. Alisher Ali, the CEO at Silk Road Management, is joining us now live from the Singapore Exchange. Alisher, I've got a question for you when it comes to investing in Mongolia. Looking at some of the research that you've sent through and, of course, the stories that have surrounded Mongolia over the last month or two. So we've got S&P revising its rating from stable to negative. We've got changes once again in terms of government regulation, some positive, some negative. We've got the Silk Road Mongolia Index losing 14 billion in market cap, from 31 billion to 17 billion during 2012. And of course this is a country that's very vulnerable to political and also liquidity issues. Key question here really is, why would you take the risk?
Well, since we started to invest in Mongolia in 2008, we always have been a firm believer in the long-term story of Mongolia in terms of its natural resources, being next to China and benefiting from the development of these untapped resources. That macro story, I think, the long-term story is still intact. Obviously, there has been a lot of volatility, especially last year, particularly related to the changes in legislation, which in turn were the subject to the election cycle. So therefore, last year we have actually reduced our holdings and exposure to Mongolia on a tactical level. And today, after all these weaknesses that you just outlined, we believe it's a good time to go back to Mongolia and either initiate or increase the holdings, because we believe that in 2-3 months after the presidential election in June, there will be a return in investor sentiments. You see already change in the legislation. It's the right step in the right direction. So therefore, we believe that it's the right time to invest in Mongolia.
When I look at some of the stocks that you like when it comes to exposure to Mongolia, Turquoise Kill Resources, Mongolian Mining Corp, and also APU, only one of these companies is actually listed in Mongolia itself. The others are listed on some of the other exchanges like Hong Kong. Is this a liquidity issue for you?
It's a liquidity issue for us. But we also believe that Mongolia Stock Exchange, and with its partnership with the London Stock Exchange, has a tremendous value there, which will be unlocked down the road. But for a lot of investors, particularly institutional investors, the small size of domestic capital markets in Mongolia, which is only $1 billion market cap, obviously creates restrictions and clearly on the liquidity side. But 5 years, 6 years down the road, with the more IPOs domestically, not only in resources sector but also non-resource sectors, I think we will create significant demand among institutional and private investors internationally for for investing in Mongolian Stock Exchange.
So getting the money into the market to get this to market is one thing, but what about the concerns of the slowdown in China? Because I presume a lot of these natural resources are getting absorbed into China, and the latest signs are a little bit worrying. People are still concerned about the overall slowdown.
I fully agree with those concerns, and you see the earnings coming out of both by Chinese mining companies and the Mongolian mining companies that export primarily into China. The numbers are disappointing. But again, I think it's a cyclical issue. We believe that from at least the second half of 2013, maybe the last quarter of 2013, there will be a pickup in demand in China. That's our view, and therefore that will reflect in re-rating of these companies, which have been beaten greatly.
Okay, so the Mongolians are definitely open for business. They want foreign investment. They've recalibrated the laws a little bit here, but they still don't want to become an economic suburb of Beijing. So are they closed doors to the Chinese investment? Are they closing the doors to Chinese investment, or is that door still open?
I think one thing one has to understand that Mongolian government is still pro-business, pro-foreign investments. But what triggered last year that controversial legislation, which obviously has been done in a very quick and not in a very well thought manner, is the concern that these acquisitions, and often by state-owned enterprises, are done without a say of the Mongolian government.
Okay, Alisher, we are out of time. It's been really good to have you with us today. Thank you so much for chatting to us. We do have lots more coming up after the break. Do stick around. We'll be right back.